Welcome to the Vault Excel. Happy Saturday to the viewing audience, chat, new subs. Thank you all so much for joining me. UT played University of Connecticut and we won today, 59-3, final score. This commentary is pertaining to Kaitlin Armstrong. She is standing trial in the state of Texas for a very brutal murder of a young lady. Some may say it was a rivalry. We're going to chop it up during this live stream. We're going to discuss the testimony from people who know her, Mr. Colin Strickland, the male who she was dating, living with, this so-called tumultuous relationship he claims he had with her, the young lady by the name of Mo, it's a nickname for her. We're going to chop up what Miss Wilson knew of her. Did she know of her? I think she did. When was the last time the two spoke? Did he drive Kaitlin to murder this young lady? Because when you start dissecting the information, you have to ask yourself if this was a situation of a female who could not let go, could not move on, was holding on to somebody who really didn't value her, didn't respect her. And rather, I want to believe he broke down during trial or seemed to have a hard time testifying. Could be his conscience eating him up. Now, don't get me wrong. There is no excuse to murder another human being who has not done anything to you. But many people have been driven to assault and homicide. They lose all perspective of what is right, what is wrong. And naturally, most of them know it's wrong to act out. But just from the information I've read before going live, there was guilty knowledge on all parties involved of the other one. And I believe he had a pattern of messing around with different women. And this Kaitlin knew of it. And she still hung in there. Why? Let's chop it up, everybody. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are welcome during the live stream. KXAN is the source of this information. 2 days ago, this content was uploaded. Prosecutors called more witnesses Thursday in the murder trial of Kaitlin Armstrong. Sorry, I spelled her name wrong. I will correct that. I don't know why I keep using a Y, who's accused of shooting and killing pro cyclist Anna Mariah Mo Wilson in May of 2022. Both sides delivered opening statements Wednesday morning. The state outlined a timeline of evidence gathered from phone and GPS records of Armstrong and Wilson's actions leading up to the shooting. Prosecutors also discussed the relationship between Armstrong, Wilson, and Armstrong's then boyfriend, Colin Strickland. The defense's primary argument appears to be the notion that even though there is surveillance of gunshots in her Jeep, there is no camera footage of Armstrong actually shooting Wilson. I want to talk to you about what you didn't hear about, defense attorney Jeffrey Pierre said. Now, one witness saw Kaitlin Armstrong allegedly commit this murder because there isn't one. Wilson's brother Matt was the first to testify. The state asked about his sister's collegiate skiing career as well as her up-and-coming professional cycling endeavors. He also spoke about the kind of person his sister was, saying they were both extremely close. Matt said Wilson and Strickland did not have a romantic relationship at the time of Wilson's death, but did previously have a casual dating relationship during the previous year. Kaitlin Cash was the next to testify. She's the friend of Wilson, who she stayed with her, Miss Kaitlin, while she was in Austin. She discussed the night Wilson died and how Cash found her on the floor of her apartment. Several first responders from the scene also testified. KXAN cannot record testimony, but we will update this article throughout the day as witnesses testify, as well as bring you the latest in our newscast. Very interesting information. Okay. Thursday morning, Kaitlin Longoria and Katie Ferrara Both crime scene specialists with the Austin Forensic Science Department took questions about their response to the scene the night Wilson was found dead. It's important to note the Forensic Science Department is a standalone department and not part of the APD. Longoria said she took more than 400 photos of the crime scene and noted seeing what she believed were projectiles on the floor in the kitchen as well as on the floor in the bathroom near Wilson's body. Very interesting. Two different locations. Ferrara said her job on scene was to process certain areas for prints and DNA. During her testimony, prosecutors brought the bicycle found in a grass patch near the scene into the courtroom. It was wrapped in a plastic bag. Ferrara says she swabbed the bicycle for DNA on the scene before packaging it. In Cash's testimony, she says she recognized the bike as Wilson's bike. Both the state and defense have placed a large focus on the bike as well as Wilson's black bike bag, which police found outside near the stairs that go up to Cash's apartment. Ferrara, as well as the attorneys, wore gloves as they unwrapped the bike. Armstrong took notes for a portion of the questioning surrounding the bicycle. Sergeant Timothy Price was the third new witness to take the stand Wednesday. He said he was a homicide detective at the time of Wilson's death. Price said as part of the initial investigation, he knocked on the door of a nearby home, which was the home of David Harris, Cash's neighbor and landlord. Harris told Price he had not heard anything, and Price said he did not seem concerned and gave police consent to search the yard. During cross-examination, the defense asked, "Gunshots are loud, right?" The defense further asked why Price didn't go into Harris's home, and Price said the evidence didn't point to the necessity of it. During the state's questioning, prosecutors discussed the process of issuing search warrants to search people's homes. Price also discussed video of a black Jeep leaving the scene. Note, APD told media during the original investigation, a black Jeep belonging to Armstrong was an integral part of the investigation. After discussing seeing the Jeep while being questioned by the state, the defense asked Price if he was aware of the term confirmation bias, which Price defined as the tendency for someone to take information and form it into something they already believe. Defense attorneys asked if Price had canvassed the area for other black SUVs. He said he did not. Price said investigators on scene thoroughly searched for and handled all evidence. He also noted the medical examiner told him Wilson's body had 3 gunshot wounds, 2 in the head and face area and 1 in the chest. The state called 4 people to the stand who lived near the East Austin apartment where Wilson was found dead on May 11th. Prosecutors played doorbell and home surveillance video from 3 of the neighbors. In each, you can see a black SUV that prosecutors have previously said belonged to Armstrong driving through the neighborhood before 9 p.m. the day Wilson died. In one video, you can hear screams followed by gunshots about 30 minutes after the SUV is seen, slowly driving through the neighborhood. The defense asked the owner of that video, Michael Colin, who now lives out of state, if he had ever seen Armstrong in person or on surveillance. Donlin said no. A man named David Harris also testified. He's Cash's landlord and his backyard butts up to her apartment. Police say when they knocked on Harris's door the night Wilson died, Harris did not seem concerned once again and said he did not hear gunshots. When Harris testified, he said he recollected the following day that while he was in his garage, which is closer to Cash's place, he heard someone running down the stairs and a bike whisking away. Very interesting. On May 11, 2022, Austin police found Wilson with a gunshot wound at an East Austin home. She ultimately died at the scene. Wilson, originally from Vermont, was in town for a race in Texas. I want to kind of double back to this landlord not hearing anything. He did hear someone running down the stairs and a bike whisking away. So if we're to believe that this lady left in her truck, the perpetrator, which is Kaitlin Armstrong, how would the bike fit into this scenario? Running down the stairs, okay, I'll ponder that. But the bicycle, and the bicycle is relevant to some degree. What or why? Do not know. It being wrapped in plastic. I don't really know what's going on here with the bicycle. I don't know if Kaitlin did something to the bicycle, handled the bicycle while approaching the property. Most people, I would assume, adults would park their bicycle either on the side of the house or near a landing, not lie it down in the grass. That's something usually children would do or teenagers. Not really sure. What's the significance of the bicycle? Okay. Once again, police said Armstrong's Jeep was in the area of the home where authorities found Wilson dead around the time of the shooting on May 14th. Surveillance video also captured Armstrong at Austin Bergstrom International Airport on May 17th. APD issued a murder warrant for Armstrong. She eventually made her way to Costa Rica, where U.S. Marshals found and arrested her on June 30th. 2022. Police said she cut and dyed her hair and had a bandage on her nose and bruised eyes. On October 11, 3 weeks before the start of the trial, Travis County Sheriff's Office said Armstrong tried to escape custody after a doctor's appointment in South Austin, and that is just a month ago. She ran from corrections officers who caught up to her in about 10 minutes. There's currently a gag order on the case, so no one connected to it can comment on the proceedings until the trial concludes. KXAN Austin is the source. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. Very interesting information. Once again, do not know the significance of the bicycle, why this is a focus. I'm assuming by the state of the bicycle. We hear that this young lady was shot 3 times. Mo, found on the floor by the young lady who she was staying with. She was visiting her. Her name is also Kaitlin. It's very strange information. And I want to go back to the bullets. Projectiles on the floor in the kitchen as well as the bathroom. So what is the proximity of the kitchen to the bathroom? Are they right next to each other? Or do you have to step out the kitchen and go into a main room, then go down a hall? Because then that will lead one to believe if Kaitlin is the perpetrator of this crime, which the state believes she is, did she bust the door in, jimmy her way in, door unlocks, Mo let her in, brief interaction, conversation, argument. She tries to run. She shot at the door. Where was she shot originally? Because projectiles are being said to be in the kitchen and the bathroom. So one would wonder if she took off running once the girl pulled out the gun, and then she shot her here. Then she crawled maybe to the next place and then shot her again. It's very gruesome. Very, very gruesome. Once again, did Colin Strickland drive Kaitlin Armstrong to commit this crime? Let's see if we can pull up some more information pertaining to this diabolical, sinister situation. One moment, please.
Wilson was in town from California for a race at that time.
Hold on one second. This audio is not well. Hold on one second. Okay, everybody. I was going to give a recap by audio, but it seems like the audio is a bit muted, so we'll go on to the next commentary. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope everybody is well. Very nice day here in the high 10. Very sunny and bright. Well, I guess I played most of that. This is a very, oh mercy, a very, very bad situation. So how many of you believe, one, that they were actually dating, living together? Because the content I'm reading says they were living together. Doesn't sound very good to me. You're living with this woman, but yet I believe he had some attachment to Mo, and he could not leave her alone, because when you weigh his own testimony, he was living with Kaitlin. The relationship was rocky. They were on and off, but yet you're living together. You changed information in your phone as so she wouldn't know that you were still talking to Mo. You had some type of relationship with Mo a year ago or whenever, because you never know. You're never gonna know the truth. He was lying. And I also found information that this is the same repeat of a situation of a woman in Colorado. She found out some information about her in his phone, and while he was out of town allegedly visiting a friend, she sends him a text message of a half nude photo of a woman from Colorado. So who's to say he wasn't visiting that same woman while he's telling her he's visiting a friend? See, I think he's just a whore. I'm just going to say it. Because when you start digging in the belly of the beast, you start hearing other scenarios of other females that he's dated, had sex with, however you want to word it, while he's living with this woman, it doesn't look good. There's a pattern here. There's a pattern of a man who likes to whore around. So him, breaking down on the stand and, whether he was whimpering or he seemed empathetic, what difference does it make? Because one's not here and one's locked up. And whether you believe she planned this for months or she planned that trip to Puerto Rico or wherever she went, in the end, she was hanging on to this man because there's evidence that he's seen others while with her. And I believe he was deceiving her and playing the same game of the, different names in the phone. And that leads me to believe you were still liking Mo. You still wanted to hang around her, wanted to hang on to her. Because why put a different name into the phone? That means you're still dealing with her. And let's be truthful. A lot of people navigate differently. Some people can, date somebody. It's over with. Then they get with a new person. And then they tell that new person, well, I'm still friends with my ex or this girl I messed around with. Hope you don't mind. Or we're good friends. And the new person goes along with it. Well, I think Kaitlin had a problem with Mo. And he was still helping her with the race, Mo. So how are you going to help her do anything when yet her name is hidden in your phone, which will make people think this is, not a good situation? So you're hiding something. And what does it look like? You're still trying to talk to the lady, deal with her, help her prepare for a race when your girlfriend knows about her, that you've messed around, whether it was when you all were together or not. It's principle. She feels some type of way about her, and yet you're still dealing with her. You have her name disguised as an alias in your phone, and you're helping her with a race, allegedly, while you're still dealing with her up until death. Allegedly, there was nothing going on, but you two went somewhere to talk, meet, lunch, dinner, whatever. It's not a good look. And the average woman is not going to sit here and say to herself, oh, yeah, they're just friends. Yeah, I believe they're just friends. Because let's just say Mo wasn't interested after whatever words she's had with Kaitlin. But she's still dealing with him now. One, you're risking this woman finding you all wherever you're at, talking on the phone or even in public. One would say, well, why do you want to go down that rabbit hole? Knowing he's with that lady, he lives with her. So no matter what he's telling you about Kaitlin, he's living with her, okay? Let's just keep it real. You really don't know what's the truth. Because once I find out that a person has past behavior doing this with another woman, nothing they say would be believable to me. Because I feel like he was telling Kaitlin certain things which were lies, and I believe he was telling that other lady, Mo, the same thing. And I don't know if Mo was really into him or not by the time she realized Kaitlin was in the picture and she wasn't going anywhere and they're living together. That's about as cut dry as you can get it. She'd either be just dealing with him to get a free meal or to have sex or both. Take your pick. Just keeping it real. Because you can't believe anybody once you find out they've done this before. And I think he may have really liked her, vibed with her. And that's when he should have realized, well, Kaitlin and I are not on the same level. I'm not attracted to her in the same way. I need to cut ties. Now, I don't know what their situation was as far as finances, who's placed the name, whose name's on the deed, the apartment, the house, however it went. But both should have cut their losses. I blame them both. And even the decedent. Because at some point she knew about Kaitlin. You're going to hear that here shortly. So everybody knows about everybody. Where you have to decide if you care is what was going on at the time of death. Was he seeing Mo or not? Or it was just this friendly, I'm trying to help prepare her for this race in Texas. But as I said, you have slept with this woman. So why would anybody believe you're in it just to help this lady out? So you'll never know the truth because the dead isn't here to tell the truth. She isn't here to defend herself. And I heard in one commentary a year or so ago, the sister said of the deceased, oh, she wasn't in a relationship with him. They weren't dating. But the thing about it is, okay, if the sister said that a year ago, the brothers now testified that, oh, no, my sister and him weren't dating. But that doesn't mean I have to tell you the truth of who I'm dating and who I'm sleeping with. And dating can be categorized as different things. Sleeping partners only, sleeping partners and occasional going out to eat, dating, or it could just be we're going out to eat, spend time together, no sex. Dating can mean a multitude of things. So were these two going out, doing things together, and also having sexual relations, Mo and Colin Strickland? Was it strictly platonic at the time of the murder? That's what I'd like to know. AOL Doc is the source. Kaitlin Armstrong, the yoga teacher who allegedly gunned down rising pro cyclist Anna Mariah Mo Wilson and then fled the country, is now on trial in Texas, charged with her murder. In court on Friday, Miss Armstrong's ex-boyfriend Colin Strickland testified about their tumultuous relationship. Prosecutors have alleged that Miss Armstrong targeted Wilson after the two were reportedly involved in a love triangle with Mr. Strickland. Miss Armstrong's jealousy became more evident in early 22, and at one point, she even told Mr. Strickland to send her love to Bo. Very interesting commentary there. After he posted an Instagram video with Wilson in the background, Mr. Strickland told the court that he felt it was extremely passive-aggressive per News Nation. So I want to address that. I definitely want to address that comment. See, this is where I think he doesn't really get the gravity of what the fuck has happened here. This girl is dead, and you're going to tell the court, oh, it just was a passive-aggressive comment. I want you all to think about that. How is it passive-aggressive and somebody's dead? We're past passive-aggressive. That's something you say in psychiatry talk, psychology talk, psychology diagnosis. We are past that stage, Mr. Strickland. Whatever you felt for Mo, whatever she felt for you is null and void right now. It will never be. Whether you were pining over this young lady, she actually liked you, but she was playing coy. She actually liked you, but you all didn't really get it jumping off because ding, 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 Miss Strickland was in the picture because you had her in the picture. Stay woke. All this living together and we weren't really doing anything and we were just passing by each other in the hallway. I don't believe that. And I know that it can happen, but in the end, most people don't view life like that. What they're going to say to themselves, I don't care, you're living with her, you're doing something. And yes, we have heard the stories of people living in a house where they don't have sex, they don't talk, they don't do nothing. But most people are not going to believe that. So you sit up in court and say, oh, she just said that passive aggressively. It sounds very cold, considering you're in court testifying against your girlfriend, your ex-girlfriend, about your other friend, lady friend. So to say, oh, she just said it passive aggressively, send my love to her. Well, that her is dead. See, people like him, I'm just going to say this. I feel for any woman that gets involved with him. It's been a year now, a year and a half since this murder happened. I would be fearful for any woman that gets involved with Mr. Strickland. I'm just going to go ahead and say it now. Because I got a feeling he's been doing this type of behavior, this juggling women and stuff, and lying to this girl, Kaitlin, and she's foolishly held on to him. And I feel sorry for any woman that gets wrapped up with him, because you know he's probably had sexual relations with somebody since this girl has been murdered. Most men can't go without sex. And I would be leery of somebody like this, because what I'm going to say to myself, has he learned anything from dealing with both women? Because this is a diabolical tale of juggling women. One ends up dead and one ends up in prison, jail, waiting to go to trial. And if you haven't changed your ways, you're going to be right back in this type of situation again, praying nobody decides to go get a gun and kill the other one. Let's finish this commentary. Thank you all so much for joining me. Wilson, a competitive gravel and mountain bike racer, was found dead at her friend's home with gunshot wounds to her head and chest back in May 22. Her bike was found in the middle of bamboo a few yards from the apartment, with DNA highly likely to have come from Armstrong, prosecutors said. So this is going back to what I just brought you earlier about this bicycle. So now we have to ask if the DNA isn't similar to Miss Armstrong's. Miss Armstrong, what were you doing with the bicycle? You're this angry. Why are you touching the bike? Please explain to the queen, because I am utterly confused. You're already going here to commit a crime because you didn't just find a gun. So why are you tampering with the bicycle? Please help me out, because I'm struggling here. What is with this bicycle business? What did you do to the bike? Why were you tampering with the bike? Because it's not like she can't go buy another bike, even if those bikes are expensive. She can go get another bike. So what's the deal with the bicycle? I'm kind of confused. Miss Armstrong fled the country and was on the run for 43 days before being captured and charged with her murder. Here are the key points from the trial thus far. Jurors hear harrowing 911 calls and witness testimony. DNA evidence on victim's bike revealed. Kaitlin Armstrong allegedly shot pro cyclist love rival in the heart. Explosive opening statements give conflicting version of May 22 murder. So what did the state say that's conflicting? Or what did the defense say that's conflicting? I'm confused. Kaitlin Armstrong's ex testifies about their tumultuous relationship. Let's talk about Miss Armstrong and her plight in life and where she was emotionally during this time. Mr. Strickland asked Miss Armstrong to write a timeline of the day before. She reportedly said she went to yoga and visited a healer. He then went to his business's headquarters in Lockhart and did not see Miss Armstrong again. Very interesting. Why would he be asking her to give a timeline? I don't understand that. Okay. Kaitlin seems shocked after learning about Miss Wilson's murder, Mr. Strickland says. Mr. Strickland said he texted Miss Armstrong after dropping off Wilson at her friend's home. Now, repeat. Mr. Strickland said he texted Miss Armstrong after dropping off Wilson at her friend's home. So, all in all, what you're going to hear is that this woman was tracking him, had passwords, passcodes, all of this to his phone devices to tamper with his phone, go in his phone mischievously. Imagine she's already watching and knowing what's going on between the two, Mo and Colin. But he doesn't know Colin. I think it's Colin. Mr. Strickland has no idea what's going on. This is real creepy and eerie. And yet, after he drops the deceased off at her friend's house, he calls Miss Armstrong. For what? To check on her? You called her to see how she's doing? Oh, she wasn't doing well. I think we all know this. Kaitlin wasn't doing well at all because she's watching you two and following you all around. So she is hot butter. She is a pop bottle about to explode. That's what's real creepy about this right here. He's out with this young lady, and little does he know he's being monitored by Kaitlin. And yet he drops off Miss Mo, not even knowing. Girlfriend is in the vicinity, I'm sure, watching and gaping. This is real creepy here. Okay. Miss Armstrong did not immediately answer, but later arrived at the home she shared with Mr. Strickland. The following day, detectives with the Austin Police Department arrived at the home. Mr. Strickland said that Miss Armstrong seemed shocked to hear about the news of Miss Wilson's murder. He went to the station with detectives and confirmed to them that Miss Armstrong owned a black Jeep, the same model that was seen driving off near the home where Wilson was found. Let's open Pandora's box. The defense is saying, well, you may have seen a car that looks like hers that was leaving the scene, but you do not have her on camera CCTV footage. What? Going to the door, murdering her? Okay, then let's ask this question, Mr. Defense Attorney. Then how did somebody get to these people's homes to even question them about the black Jeep our way? Now. That means somebody got ding, 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 the driver license number, sir. And it was registered to Kaitlin Armstrong. I'm sure they knocked on everybody's door that had a doorbell camera. Any cameras that's on apartment buildings, however this neighborhood is set up. And voila, magic. It led them to your house where you share with Kaitlin Armstrong, sir. So there may not be footage of her walking up to the door on the lawn, messing with the bicycle, but her car is seen leaving the general area. Stay woke now. And then the fleeing, using other people's IDs and passports, changing her look, cutting her hair, getting her nose done, and all before that, selling that same Jeep. Why would I sell my car? Now, see, you don't want to mention that in court, but we do know about that, sir. All right, everybody. Okay, once again, he went to the station with the detectives, and he did confirm that Miss Armstrong owned a black Jeep, the same model that was seen driving off near the home where Wilson was found. Miss Armstrong and Mr. Strickland returned to Texas on the 9th of May, just 2 days before Wilson's murder. He deleted conversations with Wilson on his phone to avoid confrontation with Miss Armstrong and saved Wilson's number as Christine Wall. So did they take a trip? I guess it's a cycling trip. And he saw her because she did go to a lot of events that he frequent. And this is where he saw her again. So this is why I need to know when was the last time he had contact with Miss Wilson before the murder. On the day of the murder, hold on 1 minute. Once again, he saved the phone number. This is so crazy to me. As Christine Wall for Miss Wilson. On the day of the murder, Mr. Strickland said that he picked up Wilson. See, this is crazy to me. He picked up Wilson at her friend Kaitlin Cash's apartment where she was staying. So somehow he's gotten tangled back up with this lady, whether it was a friendly entanglement or it was sexual. He has seen her, I think, on this trip where he and Miss Armstrong take. They come back, and somehow she's back here as well. This is all weird to me. And he's exchanged numbers, but he puts an alias onto her number, Christine Wall. So now he's gone to pick her up at this Kaitlin Cash's apartment where she was staying. Mr. Strickland and Miss Armstrong went out swimming at a pool bar that night. He received calls and messages from Miss Armstrong, but did not answer. I think they got this article is not written properly because it's saying Strickland and Armstrong went out. I believe that Strickland and Wilson. This is not good writing here. So forgive me if it's a bit off. Mr. Strickland told the court that the decision to buy a weapon with Miss Armstrong in October of 2021 had been prompted by her concerns about a potential incident of road rage, the homeless population in Austin, and fears she had when biking alone. Miss Armstrong reportedly became more jealous in early 2022. At one point, even told Mr. Strickland to send her love to Mo after he posted an Instagram video at the end of a race with Wilson in the background. Mr. Strickland told the court that he felt it was extremely passive-aggressive, as I told you earlier. During the next few months, Mr. Strickland continued texting with Wilson on different apps. Now, let's go there. This shows the pattern of deception with Miss Wilson and Miss Kaitlin. Why would you need to message Miss Wilson on different apps? So now we've gone from putting her name in your phone under a different name, Christine Wall, messaging her on different apps. That's probably WhatsApp, Duo, whatever is available through Google and whoever else. Why? So you saw her and just what? You couldn't resist. You have to talk to her. What is it about this lady that you were so intrigued with and you're still slumbering with Miss Kaitlin Armstrong? I'd like to know. Because I believe he found something attractive in the decedent, but what was it exactly? And why couldn't you leave Kaitlin alone? Because in the end, everybody has to stand account for their role they played in this saga. At some point, Mo knew about Kaitlin. And if they had words before this last trip, then she went right back into the abyss, dealing with him, knowing he has a girlfriend who is Kaitlin. Kaitlin knows what he's been doing long before Mo comes in the picture, yet she's still hanging on. Colin is hanging on for I don't know what reason. Some type of sick relationship they have, and many of us have been in them. Nobody's perfect. But there comes a point where we all have to own our SHIT and say, this is not good for me. I'm not gaining anything by being with this person. We don't get along. We argue. We fight. He cheats. She cheats. And you're also going to hear that she was allegedly dating other people at one time while they were living together, Miss Kaitlin. So see, this goes back to what I just said. Then why were you two still together? Because now we got everybody putting their private parts in different places and you two are still living in the same house. So when you say we were on again, off again, is this one or the other living outside of the house? Or are we living in the same house and we're angry with each other and we're doing our own thing? Because that's dangerous too. That's real dangerous. And I'm wondering if he would say, well, we really were off again, but we were still living in the same house when I decided to try to talk to Mo. I'm very curious because I don't think he would tell the whole truth in court about what was really going on between Mo and himself and Kaitlin and what he really felt for the two women. Because that means he'd have to own his shit. And sitting in front of a courtroom, in front of a bunch of strangers, knowing this is going to be repeated to the world, he knows that won't sit well with a lot of people. He knows that. Or he could just be the type that just don't give a damn. He'd go ahead and tell it all. Okay. This is some weird stuff right here. Once again, we go back to that passive-aggressive comment. Okay. Miss Armstrong has become very jealous in early 2022, where she has come to tell Mr. Strickland to send her love to Mo after he posted an Instagram video at the end of a race with Wilson in the background. Mr. Strickland told the court that he felt he was extremely passive-aggressive. During the next few months, Mr. Strickland continued texting with Wilson on different apps. He previously told the court that Ms. Armstrong had access to his passwords because she was acting as his manager. Mr. Strickland and Wilson rode together before he left for Arizona to prepare for a race. He traveled to the event with Ms. Armstrong, and the relationship was very smooth. See, all this is crazy. Why would she have access to your phone? She has your passwords. So this looks like a relationship. Whenever people start sharing passwords, codes, this and that, that's means you have some trust in that person. So how are you going to give passwords to somebody, but then you be the same person to cheat on them and be out here putting other people's names in your phone with aliases? This makes no damn sense to me. Mr. Strickland said that at one point Armstrong called Wilson to confront her on the phone, which Wilson found strange and unnerving. He looked very sad and defeated as he testified, according to reporters in the courtroom. Wilson then left for a different cycling event, but maintained communication with Strickland. Okay, here we go. Although the two were not very serious about moving on with the formal relationship, Mr. Strickland said the pair saw each other at different events. So let's go here. Mo, she can't speak to us because she is no longer alive. If she was alive, many would ask her, why were you still trying to contact him? Stay in contact with him. Why? Because at some point you had to have known about Kaitlin. So why would you want to be talking to a man when you see it's not going anywhere because he's not leaving this lady? So see, it's a two-way street between Colin and Kaitlin. Neither one is bailed out officially. Why not? And why would Mo continue to deal with him knowing he is in this on-again, off-again, tumultuous relationship? And I'm sure he's probably used the same words with Mo before she was murdered. Oh, yeah, she gets mad. She's real jealous, blah, blah, blah. She doesn't trust me. Did this woman ever ask him, well, why are you with her? What do you see in her? I can't be with you when you got this type of situation going on. What were their dialogues like, Mo and Mr. Colin? I'm very curious. All right. So once again, the pair saw each other at different events, Strickland and Mo. During that period, Miss Armstrong is said to have dated two other men while still living at Strickland's home. So now we get confirmation. The home belongs to Mr. Strickland. So is this apartment, condo, house? What are we talking about here? Mr. Strickland and Miss Armstrong eventually reconciled and traveled together to a championship in Arkansas in January 2022. See, all of this is very puzzling to me if this is all actual information. Because we've got Armstrong calling Miss Wilson to confront her about whatever. And Miss Wilson found it strange and unnerving. Why would you find it strange? See, the dead can't tell us anything. She would only find it strange if he lied to her and said, oh, I'm not with Kaitlin. Okay? Because at one point it says Wilson then left for a different cycling event, but maintained communication with Mr. Strickland, although the two were not very serious about a formal relationship. But they saw each other at different events. During that period, Miss Armstrong is said to have dated two other men while still living in Strickland's home. See, this is crazy to me. A famed cyclist at the center of an alleged love triangle who was with Mariah Mo Wilson the night she was killed took the stand in the Austin, Texas courtroom on Friday at the murder trial of his ex-girlfriend, Kaitlin Armstrong. Colin Strickland described his relationship with Miss Armstrong as tumultuous and said that they were on and off for a long period of time. I wasn't sure we were compatible as long-term life partners, Mr. Strickland told the court per News Nation. According to News Nation, reporter Alex Capriello, Colin Strickland told the court that after meeting Wilson at a race, He thought she was the most exceptional female racer and obvious immense talent. Mr. Strickland said he, Wilson, and other cyclists joined a race following a 2021 competition in Arkansas that Wilson had won. Miss Armstrong, who was not invited, reportedly felt left out. Miss Armstrong said Mr. Strickland had an argument on their way back to Texas over that. He then broke up with her. Why would you break up with her? She tells you how she feels. Hey, I feel left out. You didn't invite me. And then you go home and break up with her. That's strange. So had they been bickering on the trip, or was the trip seeming smooth? If I'm to go back up to previous information in this article, that they seem smooth at the same time, why would you break up with her? Because she said, hey, you all are going to go do this race, blah, blah, blah. Why are you not inviting me? This is some weird mess going on here. Mr. Strickland tells the court that he met a woman in 2020. Now listen carefully to this information. Whom he later visited in Colorado the following year. When he told Armstrong that he was in Colorado with a friend, she sent him a semi-nude picture of the woman, which Armstrong had pulled from Mr. Strickland's private text. This is why I said at the beginning of this live stream that there is an obvious pattern of Mr. Strickland messing around. Because you met some woman in Colorado at one point to where you had put pictures in your phone, and Miss Kaitlin has went through the phone and seen the pictures. Now, did she confront him about those pictures, argue with him about it? I don't know. But what is interesting is that he eventually went back to Colorado and says he's with a friend. Who was the person that he said he was with? Because she obviously thought it was a woman, so she sends that photo of this chick, semi-nude photo, gets hinting at, oh, is this who you're with? What was his response? See, this is deviant here. And this is how people get hurt. And a lot of men and women, because men and women both cheat, you don't really realize that you're going to get somebody hurt or yourself killed by playing these type of mind games. And that's what Colin was doing. Meets this lady over here. He's probably talking to her on different apps and message systems. Then he, voila, goes to Colorado, hooks up with her. I won't doubt he went to see this lady. I won't doubt it. And so he's talking on the phone with Kaitlin. And then she, radar goes off. I know what he's doing. And then she sends that damn photo. I'd like to know his response when she sent the photo. That's what I'd like to know. Did he break up with her again? Because he likes breaking up when he's confronted with allegations. Mr. Strickland said that he became angry and didn't trust Armstrong in the aftermath of the incident, but insisted that he and the Colorado woman did not have a romantic or sexual relationship of any kind. How many of you believe that? I will post that to my community board as a question in a poll, because I don't know if I believe that. Just because old habits die hard. Once again, he wasn't sure that he and Kaitlin were compatible as long-term life partners. This is what he told the court. He said that they were on and off again, long period of time. But Miss Armstrong, who had moved in with him after 2021 Texas freeze and was staying indefinitely, did not move out during the breakups. There is the red herring. She stays with him, because I brought you all that information about that Texas freeze when it happened in 2021. That was a real bad freeze in Texas. I guess at that time, these two have canoodled together. And she stays. But if you didn't want her there, Colin, why didn't you tell her? Once the weather broke, things got back to normal, that she needed to go wherever she came from. Why didn't you tell her to leave? Kaylee Arhish, a manager at a bar where Wilson was seen shortly before her death, took the stand following a recess. She said that she provided footage to authorities of the night that Wilson and Colin Strickland were seen at the bar. Colin Strickland was seen at the bar. In the video, Mr. Strickland and Wilson are seen together before she gets up to answer the phone. Another video from a different camera shows a black Jeep driving by the business. Now, naturally, if there is nobody to verify the tag on the car, there is no camera to show that this was Kaitlin's Jeep, the defense can say, well, there are probably thousands of black Jeeps in Austin, Texas. At that time, it could have been anybody's Jeep that drove by that restaurant, and that is so true. But the interesting part is that on this fateful night of anybody's Jeep driving by that bar, that woman in the bar with Mr. Colin Strickland dies after leaving that bar. And the perpetrator is believed to be Miss Armstrong, who drives a black Jeep. You entitled to your opinion of the information. Crime scene specialist Mareza Guevara, who worked in the search warrant served at Mr. Strickland's residence on May 12, 2022, takes the stand, reports CBS journalist Jessica Taylor, who is in the courtroom. Ms. Guevara says that she took pictures of the firearms evidence seized during the search and also took DNA. The crime scene investigator says she took photographs of a black Jeep with a bike rack at the scene and noticed Armstrong's passport and foreign currency inside the home. So this is very interesting here. Now, this is after the murder. So, passport and foreign currency. What type of foreign currency did this woman notice when she went to the house? At Mr. Strickland's house. It's very interesting. Ms. Armstrong's attorneys questioned Sergeant Ayers about his involvement in the case, with the officer saying he only worked on the murder investigation the day that Mr. Strickland was questioned. At the time, authorities at Mr. Strickland's home chose not to question Armstrong, but they were aware of who she was and knew that an attorney at the scene represented both her and Mr. Strickland, Sergeant Ayers told the court. Sergeant Ayers tells the court that he was suspicious of Colin Strickland because he had been the last one to see Mo Wilson alive before her murder. Mr. Strickland followed detectives to the station where he gave a formal statement. Detectives served a search warrant at his residence later that day and seized 2 MacBooks, 2 cell phones, DNA swabs of Mr. Strickland's cars, steering wheel, and 2 9mm handguns. Kaitlin Armstrong was with her attorney on the driveway of Mr. Strickland's home. Sergeant Jason Ayers' body cam video will be shown to the jury, but will be muted at times, as some of what Sergeant Ayers said in the footage leads to hearsay. Sergeant Jason Ayers, who interviewed Colin Strickland the day after Mo Wilson's death, takes the stand. Sergeant Ayers' body cam was also played with the jury out of the room. There's no easy way to put this, but last night she passed away, another detective tells Mr. Strickland. In the background of the body cam, an emotionless Armstrong is seen, according to Copper Riello. Mr. Strickland appears to be surprised and tells detectives he doesn't know the address of Wilson's mother. He also admits to having dropped her off the night before, but says he did not enter the house with her. Mr. Strickland then tells detectives that he had a brief relationship with Wilson while on a break with Armstrong, but that he had stopped being intimate with Wilson since October 21 and was now back together with Armstrong. So he stopped messing around with Miss Wilson, the decedent. October 21, fast forward, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. 7 months later, Mo is gunned down. However, Mr. Strickland said he maintained a professional relationship with Wilson. When asked if Armstrong was aware of his relationship with Wilson, Strickland said no. Bingo card. That's all I've been waiting on as well. So you have hid this woman's number in your phone. Hello, darling. Thank you so much. You have hit this woman's number in your phone as a Miss Christine Wall. You have gotten back in contact with Mo under the guise it's nothing, allegedly. But yet she shows up dead, and now you're talking to police, detectives, and they're asking you, well, when was the last time you were with her? Because you're spinning the web. You say, oh, October 21. So she's murdered 7 months later, and then they ask you, okay, well, did Kaitlin know about this professional relationship that's nothing? And you say no. That's why you hit her name in the first place. You hit her name in that phone before you even hooked up with her. This is crazy to me. But then it's also typical of a whore, a male whore. Are you a male whore, Mr. Colin Strickland? I don't mean to be offensive, but there's a woman that's dead, and we don't have to sugarcoat anything at this point. Because this is possible would push this woman over the edge. You two going back and forth, back and forth. She never left your house while you're breaking up. So this is even more crazy if I'm to believe your allegations that she was seeing men while living in your house and you possibly were seeing women while still staying in your own damn house with her. This is a recipe for disaster because naturally people get emotions when they have sex with people. That's just a given. There are people who can have sex with a man or a woman and not become attached or attached to the sex, however you want to word it. There's others who cannot. And you knew you liked that woman when you put her name in your phone and you put it as an alias. See, the wheels were spinning the moment you saw her at that race. And you carried your ass back to Texas with Kaitlin. You were pining then. That's why you broke up with her when you got back. And you said, in the damn courtroom, this is how stupid you are. Oh, yeah, I like what she said to me. Why she wasn't invited to the race. I broke up with her. She's probably felt real duped by you. God knows how long you two been living together, dating. How many times she's found other women's names in your phone, nude photos, semi-nude photos. You're bold because now you want to tell the court, oh, she had my passwords because she's my manager, but yet you're taking pictures of nude women in your phone, knowing this woman has your passcode to get in your phone. Ask yourself, does that make any damn sense? And if a woman is really curious to see who the hell you're talking to, she'll call every damn number in the phone to see who answers. So it wouldn't matter if you put Christine Wall in there. She could just say, hi, may I speak to Christine? Yes, this is she. Hi, do you know Colin? Yes, I know him. Well, are you two dating each other? Then she waits to hear the response. And God forbid, she listens to the voice and realizes, oh, hell no. This is that damn girl Mariah, who I've already talked to before. Colin, you're not very bright. Now, I don't make any excuses for what she did, Kaitlin. But the more I read this information, the more I see you have been very deceptive with her, and both of you were playing Russian roulette in this storyline. And now one person is no longer alive because somebody in the story didn't bail out when they should have. And this is why and how people get hurt, because somebody won't leave the other one alone. This was a recipe for disaster a long time ago. Okay, everybody. Once again, the detective asked him, did she know of the relationship, Miss Armstrong, Kaitlin, about his relationship with Mo? And he tells the detective no. The first witness to take the stand is Daniel Shear, who lives near the residence where Wilson was found May 11, 2022. Footage from Shear's camera on the night of the murder is shown in court. In the video, Shear is seen exiting his home and walking towards the vehicle. In the background, a motorcycle is seen for a split second. The night of the murder, Wilson was picked up and dropped off by Colin Strickland, the then boyfriend of the woman who is now accused of her murder at the home where she was killed. This week, the court has listened to witnesses in the case, including Mo Wilson's friend, who found the body of the rising pro cyclist on the floor of her bathroom. The trial is not being televised, but closing arguments will be. Devastated family members of slain professional cyclist Mariah Mo Wilson sobbed in a Texas courtroom. At one point, walked out as harrowing 911 call and graphic police body cam footage were played for jurors on the first day of witness testimony. Kaitlin Armstrong, 35-year-old Texas yoga teacher, has pleaded not guilty to murder in the May 2022 slaying of Wilson, a competitive gravel and mountain bike racer, in what prosecutors say was a jealous rage over a love triangle. Wilson has been shot in the head and chest when she was found at a friend's home before a race that she was among the favorites to win. Kaitlin Cash testified on the stand on Wednesday that she had found her friend covered in blood and not breathing when she returned home from dinner. Her voice cracked as she recalled seeing her feet and thought she was just lying on the bathroom tile floor to cool off. But when she announced her arrival, there was no response. In a bold opening statement on Wednesday, Travis County prosecutor Rick Jones told the jurors that they were here at the moment that which Mariah Mo Wilson was fatally shot, which was captured on a nearby surveillance equipment. The last thing Mo did on this earth was scream in terror, Mr. Jones said. Those screams are followed by pop, pop, he added, smacking his hands together for emphasis. You won't hear any more screams after that, quote unquote. Seconds after those shots, Mr. Jones said, Kaitlin Armstrong stood over Mo Wilson and put a third shot right into Mo Wilson's heart. In a short opening statement, defense attorney Jeffrey Pierre said Ms. Armstrong was caught in a web of circumstantial evidence. In court on Thursday, jurors heard how bombshell DNA evidence tied the accused killer to the crime scene. Wilson, a competitive gravel mountain bike racer, was found dead at her friend's Texas home with gunshot wounds to her head and chest in May 2022. Bike found lying in the middle of bamboo, a few yards from the apartment. So I started thinking about that because they keep emphasizing that. Was she running? Was she fearing for her safety? Did she recognize Miss Kaitlin following her? So she took off and jumped off the bike and ran in the house. Was she saying something to her out of the car window? See, all of this is strange to me. I don't really understand what is going on. So this is just basically recapping everything from last week because they keep repeating everything over and over and over. Okay. So screams were heard. Some heard them, some didn't. As I brought you information earlier, the landlord says he didn't hear anything, but he did hear somebody running down the stairs and a bicycle whisking away. Who was that? Are they the same person? The person running down the stairs and the person on the bicycle. The girl who found her, the friend, Kaitlin, who found Mo, did she run out of the house? And those are the footsteps that the landlord heard. I'm not really sure. This is the friend's account of finding her friend Mo deceased. She was covered in blood, lying on her back. Ms. Cash told the court as she began to cry. I immediately bent down and tried to wake her. Pretty quickly, I called 911. Prosecutors didn't play Ms. Cash's gut-wrenching 911 call, where the court could hear crying as she told the dispatcher her brain is leaking. An emotional Miss Cash could be heard counting out loud as she follows the dispatcher's instructions and delivers chest compressions to her friend. She's laying on the bathroom floor and there is blood everywhere. I can't tell what happened. She is heard telling the dispatcher she's not awake. There is blood all over her face and the back of her head. As the 911 call was played in court, Miss Cash was visibly distraught on the stand, and many of Wilson's family left while others were seen weeping in court. And when you see this article, AOL. You will see Kaitlin Cash hugging somebody in court, and that both of them are crying. Oh, Lord have mercy. Now, on the second day of trial, testimony came from several residents from the neighborhood, and they also saw video and audio footage from the time of the alleged incident. In one piece of doorbell cam footage, a woman's screams and gunshots could be heard. Michael Donlin said he had turned over his doorbell cam footage to police after seeing a post on social media platform Nextdoor requesting information and video. He tells the court no police had come to his door to ask for the footage and that he did not see the Jeep in person on the night of the alleged incident. Like Martha Paleo, Mr. Donlin said he has not yet seen Kaitlin Armstrong before prior to her appearance in court. Jurors were shown the doorbell cam footage shared with police by former resident Michael Donlin. The footage contains audio. A black Jeep was also spotted in Mr. Donlin's footage around 8:26 p.m. At 9:15 p.m., a woman can be screaming as well as 2 consecutive gunshots. So this is from listening. After a pause, a third gunshot is heard. The sounds are distant but audible. Kaitlin Cash, Wilson's friend who discovered her body, bows her head while another friend consoles her in the courtroom. Next was Martha Paleo to testify, who lives around 100 millimeters from where Wilson was found dead. Jurors were shown 2 pieces of CCTV footage in which a black Jeep with a bike rack could be seen passing in front of her house and later in her back alley. Very interesting. Where was she going in the alley? If we're to believe this was Miss Kaitlin Armstrong. Ms. Paleo said that although she was awake at the time of the alleged murder, she did not hear any gunshots. Police arrived in the neighborhood around 10 p.m., she said. David Harris, the landlord and neighbor of the apartment where Mo Wilson was killed, took the stand at Kaitlin Armstrong's murder trial on Thursday. He is describing what he heard on the night of May 2022 and says he went to the garage to take a marijuana bong hit. Wow, how interesting. Before going on his walk for exercise. When he went in to open the garage and smoke, that's when he heard what sounded like someone rushing downstairs of the apartment and the whisking sound of a bicycle being moved. Immediately, someone took off, he added. Prosecutors asked him, if police came into your house and asked to search, would you have left them? He responded, absolutely. They then asked Mr. Harris, I hate to ask you this, but did you kill Mariah Wilson? No, I did not, he responded. It's very interesting. Oh, here's a little background on Miss Wilson, the decedent. Anna Mariah Mo Wilson, 25, a competitive gravel and mountain bike racer from Vermont, was found dead May 11th in her friend's Austin, Texas apartment. Vermont, that's a very long way. That's from the East Coast, my goodness. A month before her death, Miss Wilson beat 30 of the top gravel racing cyclists in the United States to claim the Fuego 80K at the Sea Otter Classic in Monterey, California. Miss Wilson followed up that victory with a win at the Belgian Waffle Ride in San Diego on the April 30th, 2022, and arrived in Austin on May 10th as the favorite to win the Gravel Locos in Hico a few days later. Very interesting. She was staying at her friend Kaitlin Cash's apartment on Maple Avenue, East Austin, and on May 11 arranged to meet fellow pro cyclist Colin Strickland, who, according to a police affidavit, she had an on-again and off-again relationship when he and his then-girlfriend Kaitlin Armstrong were on a hiatus. Let me repeat that. According to a police affidavit, Miss Mariah, the decedent, had an on-again, off-again relationship with he and his then-girlfriend, Kaitlin Armstrong, were on a hiatus. If that makes any sense. I don't know if I understand what I just read. The pair went swimming at the Deep Eddy Pool, public aquatic center in Austin, before going for a meal at nearby Pool Burger. Mr. Strickland, 35, told investigators he dropped Miss Wilson off at her friend's at around 8:30 p.m. 1 minute later, a neighbor's surveillance camera captured Miss Armstrong's Cherokee SUV outside the address. Later that night, Miss Wilson was found bleeding and unconscious with multiple gunshot wounds by the friend she was staying with. Despite attempts to resuscitate her, she was pronounced dead at the scene. According to a police affidavit, Mr. Strickland told detectives in a May 12th interview that Miss Armstrong had returned to their home in her SUV around 9:20 p.m. Mr. Strickland said he struck up a conversation with Miss Wilson in October 2021 when he and Miss Armstrong were on a brief hiatus. Texts between him and Miss Wilson showed that she was under the impression that they were still dating. Bingo card. Let me repeat that. He met this woman in October 2021 when he was allegedly not with Miss Kaitlin. But texts between the two showed she was under the impression they were still dating. So that means she was saying something in her dialogue with Mr. Colin that she believed, that's my interpretation, he and Kaitlin were together. Why would she believe that? And why would she be saying that? That's what I would like to hear, the text messages between the two. You can get a better understanding of a person's relationship if you have the text messages. That's just me. According to the affidavit, a friend called police on May 14th to say that Miss Armstrong had learned of the on-again, off-again relationship in January. Now remember, October he meets Mo, and then the following year, which is January, this woman, a friend, calls the police to tell him that Kaitlin learned about the relationship in January. Another caller, identified by pseudonym Jane to shield her identity from Miss Armstrong, said she became furious and was shaking in anger and stated that she wanted to kill Miss Wilson. She began calling Miss Wilson and ordering her to stay away from her boyfriend, according to the affidavit. Is that allegation true? This person who anonymously called the police to say Kaitlin threatened Mo. In an interview with police, Mr. Strickland said around that time he purchased a 9mm handguns for himself and Miss Armstrong. He spoke in glowing terms about Miss Wilson's prospects as a pro cyclist, describing her as the best gravel cyclist in the United States and possibly the world. Now, what's interesting is that Miss Wilson is threatening this woman. Kaitlin is threatening, getting tangled up. Kaitlin is threatening Miss Wilson. And then it says below this, while Mr. Strickland is interviewing with the police, he purchased 2 handguns. But if you go back to my commentary earlier, allegedly the handguns were purchased because of Kaitlin's fear of the homeless population and road rage. Very odd, if I'm to believe this wording in this article. Once again, everything is about perception and aversion. So you're entitled to believe what you want to believe about this storyline. So we've got her telling this woman to stay away from Mr. Strickland. Kaitlin's telling Mo this. Then after that, he's purchased handguns, 9mm handguns. But he's also speaking highly of Miss Wilson as a pro cyclist. He was not nearly as flattering about his girlfriend, Miss Armstrong, also a competitive cyclist, telling officers he had asked her not to ride with him because she holds him back. Wow. That's deep. So he seems to be bragging more about the dead person who his girlfriend has shot. Nobody knows, at that time. So he's not thinking that while he's being interrogated that detectives are questioning and wondering what the hell is going on here. Why is he talking more flattering about the dead girl than his own girlfriend? So here he's telling a detective she holds him back. Mr. Strickland has cooperated with investigators and is not a suspect. Graphic photos were being shown in the court of the crime scene that show a close-up of Mo Wilson's shoes and bloodstains. Kaitlin Armstrong stares straight ahead, unflinching, according to News Nation's Alex Capariello, who was in the courtroom. The courtroom remains silent as jurors are shown Wilson's injuries. One photo that has been blurred shows her bloody face. Another is a close-up of her dress pulled up past her waist. Why was her dress pulled up past her waist? Now I'm really confused. Was this picture taken after paramedics arrived and tried to resuscitate her just to see if there were bodily injuries to her underneath her dress? I'm curious. Witness testimony continued on Thursday with the homicide detective and crime scene analyst each taking the stand. The courtroom was shown graphic photos once again of the crime scene, which triggered crying from several of Mo Wilson's loved ones. Some of her family left the room. Wilson's competitive bicycle was brought out for the jury to see shortly before the court took a recess for lunch. So let's ask that question once again. What is the significance of this bicycle? Why did the state bring the bike to court? I'm very, very confused. Let's go back to Wednesday. Travis County prosecutor Ricky Jones told jurors that they would hear Wilson's final screams and shots that killed her. The last thing Mo did on this earth was scream in terror, adding that nearby surveillance equipment captured the screams. Once again, as I said, pop, pop, Mr. Jones said, smacking his hands together for emphasis. You won't hear any more screams after that. Seconds after those shots, Jones said, Kaitlin Armstrong stood over Mo Wilson and put a third shot into Wilson's heart. Oh, okay. Now, as most of you know, recapping this situation pertaining to Kaitlin going on a run, she was questioned by the police 3 days after the killing, but once freed, she fled to Costa Rica. I said Puerto Rico. Excuse me for that discretion. She fled to Costa Rica, leading the authorities on an intensive manhunt that ultimately ended in her capture, despite her effort to disguise her identity with dyed hair and plastic surgery. Kaitlin, she's a mess. Kaitlin Armstrong, 35, is accused of killing Mariah Mo Wilson, competitive gravel mountain bike racer, in May of 2022 in a jealous rage over a love triangle involving her boyfriend, Colin Strickland. She has pled not guilty to the charges and faces up to 99 years in prison if convicted. Thank you all so much for letting me read that to you. AOL.com. Some of that's a little dicey in the wording. Let's get some audio from News Nation to get somebody else's opinion. A few commentators such as Nancy Grace and other analysts question the friend who found her reaction to how she didn't know where she was bleeding from. But as one gentleman said, everybody reacts differently at the time of a horrific incident. And maybe she was just she was in such shock, she couldn't ascertain where Mo was bleeding from to say, oh, it was a gunshot. She was shot in the head, shot in the back, so on and so forth. So was the friend in shock to where she couldn't decipher where her friend was shot or ascertain that it was a gunshot and not a bludgeoning? I don't know. But this is a very horrific story. And I believe all this could have been avoided naturally had somebody bailed out. And that would be the two, Colin and Kaitlin. I believe they've been going back and forth for years, don't know how long. I believe he was cheating on her and picking up this one and that one. She was seeing the things he was saying and messaging and taking pictures and collecting pictures of other women. Don't even know how many there were. But let's ask that as well. How many were there? How many women did she see him talking to in the phone? Number one. How many pictures did he have of women nude, semi-nude, and other photographs? How long were they in a relationship? On and off. And why did they stay together? Because sometimes people will pity you. And as he said in his commentary, well, I let her stay here because we had that storm, that freeze, and she just stayed on. But my thing is, if you wasn't really into her, you should have sent her on her merry way. And at some point, she had to feel unwanted by Colin. She should have left him. That old saying of it's cheaper to keep her is BS. If you're not happy, what is the point? And people stay with each other for various reasons. Great sex, Somebody lives well. They're in a great neighborhood, got a great house, great condo. Maybe the sex ain't that great, but the lifestyle is good. But are you happy? Are you getting along? Are you benefiting in a righteous, wholesome way? Because you could be living in somebody's house and they got a nice house, nice car. They take you out to eat. They take you nice places, but you don't have anything in common. You don't vibe. The sex ain't great. There's no camaraderie. You see where I'm going? Or it could be great sex, but they're nasty. They're rude. Chew with their mouth open. They're abusive. Something has to be great between the two, or it will never work. And I believe at some point, they both tired of each other, but they held on for dear life. And in the end, Mo Wilson suffered the consequences of this tumultuous relationship. Little did she know, Kaitlin was lying in wait and watching. And see, I think she's been doing that all along, watching his whereabouts, GPS movements, phone, and he had to have known because he said he gave her passwords because she was his manager. So he had to have liked the bullshit. That's my personal opinion. And until he can prove otherwise, I'm going to stand on that. Because it makes no sense to say, we're up and down, we're up and down. I'm giving this person access to my phone, my data. I'm taking pictures of other women. I'm storing them in my phone. I'm messaging them on different apps. I'm putting their number in my phone under different names, and then act like it's no big deal. Oh, she just said that in passive aggressive. Send my love to Mo. You should have been eyes wide open, sir. That you could be possibly pushing this woman to madness. But see, this is why I tell you, a lot of people like this type of drama. I've met people recently, not in a dating situation, but listening to them talk at a gathering and listening to them talk about their past relationships with their significant other at that time showed me they like drama. And it was a man speaking. And there's nothing more worse than listening to a man speak ill of a woman, no matter what happened in a relationship, but still be dealing with them now. Still be dealing with them. That tells me everything. You like drama. And you are used to it. That's why you're still tangled up with them in some form or another. May not be no sex or anything like that, but you're still holding on to what was. It's to some sick degree. But yet you'll swear up and down. Oh, there's nothing between us. It ain't nothing. But you two have, because I don't want to say on the live, but let's just say they still deal with each other. Let's say in a business capacity. But yet you speak ill of them. You let your other relatives speak ill and say nasty things. So my thing is, why are you still dealing with them? This is bizarre to me. Let's go to News Nation, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Once again, if you'd like to donate to this great network, $DeGanji, 129 Cash App, stickers and chats are welcome during the live stream. That content I just read you is by AOL. This is a sad case because this happens every day where people won't leave well enough alone, and they know that these people don't mean them any good. They know the relationship isn't working out, and they continue to deal with them, and then something terrible happens, and then you can't take it back. You can't go back. And everybody's sitting around looking crazy like, oh my God, how did this happen? Because somebody didn't bow out. That's why. This was uploaded 19 hours ago. What is the relevance of the ex-boyfriend's testimony? Mr. Cuomo with News Nation. One moment, please. Thank you for joining me.
the person with the answers is Strickland, Colin Strickland. He's the man in the middle, and he took the stand. And our guy, News Nation's Alex Capriello, was there. So first, thank you. Second, what was your take on him and how he, why he thinks this happened?
Yeah, he came across as very genuinely pained to be up there. These were memories that he did not want to have to relive, but obviously his testimony is arguably probably the most important one that these jury members need to hear. He really outlined his relationship with Kaitlin Armstrong, which he detailed as tumultuous. It was an off-again, on-again relationship. He detailed his past romantic history with Mo Wilson, which really lasted only about a week, a few months before she was actually killed. And he also outlined the secrecy that was involved with that. Eventually, Mo Wilson and Colin Strickland had a very professional relationship. He was helping her with her cycling career. But to your point, Kaitlin Armstrong just really did not see that way as far as the prosecutors are concerned. She was consumed by jealousy in the eyes of the prosecutors, and that's really what they're trying to lay out. But back to your original point, what was my take on him? He really seemed upset being up there when he was recounting his memories from the night that Mo Wilson was killed. He had his eyes closed the entire time. He had his arms crossed ahead of him, and he was just speaking really low, really quietly, as if he was greatly pained in that moment.
Now, legally, this is inoperative, but just in terms of the rights and wrongs of the situation, did it come up that he wasn't responding to Kaitlin when he was out with Mo Wilson, and that he may have had designs on her that Kaitlin was sniffing out, but Wilson didn't know about and didn't know that he wasn't answering and was acting weird with regard to his girlfriend?
Yeah, I mean, Colin really just laid out the fact that he did not believe that Mo really knew much about Kaitlin, and to his belief.
Well, we know that all that is not true after the information I just brought to you. If it is accurate, what I've just brought to you by two other sources, they did know of each other, because it is said in commentary that I just brought to you that Kaitlin contacted Mo. She even talked to her friend about finding out about her that January before the murder. So you have a friend saying, yes, she did know. She found out in January of 22. The couple met in October 21. Kaitlin finds out months later in January and allegedly told a friend about it. So I don't think a friend, would lie about and say, yeah, she told me about it. She was upset. She threatened to hurt the girl. She probably did tell her that. I'm pissed off. I'm mad. I can't believe it's another one. Stay woke. So then you jog your memory back to the mess about the girl in Colorado. And he testifies in court about that. So that comes from him, not gossip. He testifies in court. Oh, yeah, there was a woman in Colorado I met. Kaitlin found out. We were having words through text, and she sent me this semi-nude photo of her. But, it was, he's been doing this. He may have some type of, feelings of regret that he didn't end this mess with her. He may have felt bad if the girl's dead. He should feel bad. He should feel really bad. And it's not to say that he has control over Kaitlin's emotions, but if you were dicking her around, which we know that you were wrong for that, because you're also dicking the other lady around. See, it's a three-way street. Imagine that. So you hear Cuomo saying, well, maybe she didn't know about the girl. Mo didn't know about her. Oh, Mo knew about her because allegedly Mo has been contacted about Colin from Kaitlin. So she did know. And the fact that he's not answering her phone calls, Caitlin's calls, should tell you, yeah, he ain't never told her he's reconnected with Mo and that he's also helping her train bingo card. So that means he was deceptive in his dealings with Mo, knowing they have had words and knowing Kaitlin knew about her beforehand. Lord have mercy. What a mess.
If Kaitlin didn't know much about Mo, little did we know that Kaitlin Armstrong had access to all of his passwords, all of his passcodes. She had access to his text messages that the prosecutors are laying out, that she was really following along with it all from the get-go, that she knew way more than she was letting on to. And it really culminated in one night in May when prosecutors say that she was tracking her down, following her activity and her location on a fitness app. And then ultimately prosecutors saying, you know, going into her apartment after she got home from hanging out with Strickland and then killing her in cold blood.
Right. And they found weapons and other signs of trying to get away with it. But I'll tell you what, it's haunting. If part of the reason that this happened, you can't excuse anything the defendant did, not legally anyway, is because of what he was keeping from her. And maybe what he was keeping from Wilson about what his feelings were. And I think that's a big part of the intrigue here. Alex, thank you very much. All right, let me get the better minds here now. What is his relevance, Prosecutor Dave Arenberg, in terms of making the case?
Chris, whether it's a love triangle or not, he's the key witness. I mean, the gun that was used in the crime was traced to his home. He bought the gun for him and his girlfriend, Kaitlin Strickland. He was so scared of Kaitlin Strickland finding out about this other relationship that he changed Mo Wilson's name in his phone. He described the relationship as tumultuous. So he can talk about who Kaitlin Strickland was or is. He can talk about why she was jealous, why he was scared of her. He can talk about the gun that was found. And look, the reason why Kaitlin found where Mo was because Kaitlin was able to break into Strickland's phone and track her down using some secretive means.
You know, Mark, it probably doesn't matter as a mitigating factor at all legally, but in terms of just the tragedy of the situation.
Before I let Cuomo finish this, what is secretive if they're talking to each other and messaging and she has access to the phone? There's nothing secretive about that. Once I see where you're talking to a person, these two are talking, okay? She realizes he's talking to Mo and she's using a alias. He's put an alias in the phone. Well, if the person is saying, the dead person is saying, hey, what time are you going to pick me up? Hey, let's go eat at such and such burger joint. Where is the secrecy? I don't need an app to track nothing. Damn, come on, you guys. As Cuomo said, she never let on possibly that she knew he was using that girl as use her name, a different name in the phone. She probably just said to herself, okay, let's just see how this is going to play out. He doesn't think I know what the hell he's doing. He doesn't think I know he's talking to this one, this one, this one. Because you don't know, it could be other women. That's another question. Whether other women stay woke. So, okay, I'm not going to say anything. I'm a fool for love. I'm seriously attracted, crazy, addicted to this man. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not going to say two words. I'm just going to see how this all pans out. You don't have to secretly track a person if two people are talking about meeting at McDonald's. What's the secret? Stay woke. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Hey, what you doing tonight? Nothing. Hey, you want to go to Burger King at 7? Sure. Where's the secrecy? You don't need a secret damn nothing if we're talking in the messages, in text messages saying we're going to go meet each other. Come on, fellas. Now you're a little brighter than that. Yes, he talked to her on different apps. But most people use common things for their passwords and different, for your email. And he already said she knew how to get into his personal business because she was his manager. But this is how you know he's possibly a narcissist because he gave her access to his phone, but he also knew that he was entangled or still like that lady. So you putting her number in the phone under a different name meant nothing when somebody has access to your damn phone. And how much messaging are you going to do where it's not going to be obvious you have feelings for this other person or persons, or you're meeting with them secretly, or you all are swapping naked photos and so on and so forth when you've given a person access to your damn phone? This guy's a dodo bird. So I don't care about him being in court acting like he's distraught and he didn't want to testify, or he's feeling some type of way about Mo's death. You are a party to this bullshit. Yeah, I'm going to say that. Because once you put that girl's name in your phone, number in the phone under a different name, you show complicity to deceive Kaitlin Armstrong. And you still kept dealing with that woman knowing this girl was hyper jealous, hypersensitive. You were down with it. You were down with it.
Legally, but in terms of just the tragedy of this situation, it may be the case that the victim in this didn't know how Strickland was regarding her and what would be making his girlfriend suspicious.
Exactly.
You know, she may have really been just duped in all of this.
Well, that's certainly a possibility. You know, I was texting with Ehrenberg earlier, and he was talking about, he actually texted the words, just because he cheated doesn't make him a killer. And I said, remember that, Ehrenberg, next time I use that as a defense, because the same people who will argue that kind of a, just because you cheat or you're a cad doesn't make you a killer, would argue that here. But if it was the defendant or he was the defendant, they'd be arguing something different.
Exactly.
I don't think, I wasn't in the courtroom, but based on what was reported, I don't think he came off well. I think that a lot of the evidence the defense is going to bring up is going to point in his direction, including the DNA and the gun, the ballistic evidence.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to News Nation.
Well, see, it's that texting that gets most people in trouble. I think most of us know this. And that's why I said, what does the text messages show between he and Mo? Because that's going to lay out what was going on up until she was murdered by Kaitlin Armstrong. And this will show also her texting to him, any type of, conversations about Mo or any other women, what her mindset was leading up to the murder of Mo. But when you start using aliases and different messaging apps, you're already showing that you're being deceptive. So you had something to hide. And then you already admit in court that you gave this woman access to your phone. So that would lead me to think, hell, maybe you wanted her to do something to this lady. Let's chop that up. One moment, please. Thank you all so much for joining me. Did he want Kaitlin to do something to this girl? Because you're acting like, oh, she's this, she's that. You're bragging about her to the detectives. You're not putting your girlfriend in a positive light, but yet you give that same person that you're not talking positive about to the detectives, you gave her ammunition to do anything to you. She could have hurt you. You're really a stupid person. You got to wake up. Like I said, none of us are perfect, but you do have to say, what am I dealing with? Because now you got to ask all the questions. There's so many. I don't even have enough fingers. Have you been with other women? Has she seen that you've been with other women? Are there other women's pictures that were in your phone? Did she ever catch you with another lady? Did you ever catch her with a guy? Why would you let somebody stay in your house dating other women, other men? You say she was dating other men when you all were broke up, but yet she still was living in your house. Why would you allow somebody to stay in your house and you all are not jiving? Why did you break up with her when she got offended that you didn't invite her to the race that Mo was going to and other cyclists were going to? They also said she was also a cyclist, so maybe she was offended because you had eyes on that girl and you let it be known. Now we got to ask that question. Were you the type of guy that would make it known you were interested or attracted to another woman to make her jealous? Did you deliberately make her jealous about other women? Did you talk about other women in front of her? Hell, did these two ever swing? I don't know. Because when you got relationships where people still stay in the same house and they're dating other people, I have to wonder if you all invite other people over to have sex with each other. We're just going to go in the belly of the beast because he's a party to this. He is a party to the death of that young lady. And that young lady had to have known about Kaitlin because it has been alleged that Kaitlin has called her before telling her to stay away from Colin Strickland. So why would Mo give her number to him again if she was confronted by phone or text from Kaitlin Armstrong? Why would you give him your number? Why would you meet with him? What were his conversations consisting of to Mo Wilson? Were there any conversations of, I really like you, I'm going to leave her, I'm sorry, it's hard, I'm attached, she's attached, we go back, blah, 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 blah. Because see, the thing people don't seem to understand is that you're only worth your word. That's all you're worth. That's all you're worth, is your word. And if your word ain't bond, you ain't hitting on nothing. You may have been of value to somebody else that likes you, friends with you, related to you, but they probably know you're a liar, a deceiver, and they love your dirty draws. But possibly there are other people who would say, I really don't care for him. I really don't care for her for whatever reason. You see, this is why we have these problems in relationships and courtships. Is because what we allow. You see, if you allow a man to mistreat you in any form of fashion, he will become accustomed to that type of behavior, response, and then he goes out and he does it to somebody else until he's racked up a rack of women that he has abused. And he may not be physically abusive. Because, oh, yes, let me tell you, we've got those old distant lovers that love sex with women, and they may not beat up the women, curse them out, but they're whores nonetheless. I got a funky feeling Mr. Colin is just old male whore. Makes up all kind of excuses. May talk nice, may not. I don't know because I haven't held a conversation with him. But I know he's a deceiver. And he's a part of this plot. He may not have pulled the trigger. He may not have given her the gun directly to go murder Miss Mo. He may not have said, do something to her, but he played a role. He was a deceiver. And at any point, he could have left Kaitlin alone because I won't doubt she acted out at some point. Now, naturally, we have those people who sit in silence when they're angry and they don't let people know that they're hurt, that they are offended. This is why we have a lot of mass shootings in our country. A lot of those people, children and adults, they don't tell people how they feel. They feel ostracized. They feel alone. They feel depressed. They feel like they don't belong. They just one day go get the gun, the rifle, and bloop, 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 kill everybody in sight. Is this Kaitlin Armstrong, the silent killer? She just moped and cried and fussed to friends, whoever would listen. And then that last time she went in that phone, she said, I've had enough of this shit. I've had enough of this. So that would lead one to say she still wanted this dirty bird, but she wanted the rivalry, who she thought was a rival, out of the way. So as you heard in this commentary with Mr. Cuomo and his guest, maybe Mo didn't know anything. I beg to differ. She knew about her. She knew about Kaitlin. And she knew of her wrath, if I'm to believe the allegations in the commentary I brought you, that Kaitlin confronted her. Oh, she knew about her and Colin. Oh, I bet that. Because what you have to tell yourself is the obvious. How many times am I just going to keep going through that damn phone, snooping, and I don't call a spade a spade? I'm just going to keep going through it, and I don't call her up and have a talk with her? Come on now. Now, we have seen many situations where people live together and they weren't sleeping with each other, weren't having sex. They went their way. He went to his room, she went to her room, or the sofa, however. But as I told you, you're going to have those people who are still going to say, oh, somebody was sleeping with somebody having sex. Because some people just cannot picture a man and a woman being in a house without having sexual relations. But we do know that there are many people who do not have sex and live in the same house. We have seen it in many relationships that are tainted, strained, when people start having sleep trouble, sleep apnea, different things. Husband sleeps in one room, mommy sleeps in another. Stay woke. Or the wife. And they live like that until death. Everybody vibes differently. Because what one couple will do, another one won't. What one will tolerate, another one won't. And that's the gist of this story. They tolerated each other, but somebody else ended up dead. Because in the end, she didn't want him dead. She wanted that girl dead. Because think about it, if she wanted them both dead, she would have shot both of them. She still wanted to hold on to a dirty heathen. And he could fight tooth and nail and tell the world, yes, it was platonic, and I was just trying to help her, get herself together for the races, and I wasn't sleeping with her, and I didn't, it was nothing. It may not have been anything at that time, but who's going to believe it? You see, because you already had history with Mo. So why would Kaitlin say to herself, knowing she knows you better than anybody, she's living with you, she's been dealing with you. She already suspected you of messing with a woman in Colorado. She can't see between the mountains to see if you was sleeping with that girl when you went to Colorado. See, what she should have done was done what most black women do. Turn the camera on, let me see what you're doing. Shut your mouth. Oh, you just touched down, you just got off the airplane? Turn the camera on, let me see what you're doing. Soon as he make an excuse, I'm doing this, you already know something ain't right. The fact that he wouldn't answer the phone calls that night when he was with that woman, Mo. Ding, ding, ding. Deception. You liked her. You liked her. Because you always have liked her. You let that be known in your interrogation. That you fancied Mariah Wilson, Mr. Strickland. Possibly more than you did Kaitlin. But you had some type of sick relationship with Kaitlin. You couldn't cut her off, let her go, and vice versa. And in the end, Miss Wilson paid the piper for that sick relationship you had. And now you have nobody. There is no Mo and there is no Kaitlin. Checkmate. You see, that's the thing about murder. You don't think at the time that you're going to be the one ass out. You're going to be the one locked up, and the one you want, desire, obsessed over will be out of reach because you're going to be in prison if they don't give you a bond and let you out before trial. And God forbid 12 members of a jury find you guilty. It has also been rumored that Kaitlin wants to be free under supervision. Now, I don't know what the hell is wrong with this chick to where I believe she has lost her damn mind in that jail because she is now realizing she should not have killed that woman. She can't get out of there. And there's no way a judge is going to let you come home on supervised release because you tried to escape a month ago, Miss Armstrong. You're the last person the judge is going to let go home until a jury verdict. Maybe she has regrets for killing this young lady. That will be my next question on my poll. I'm going to ask you everything that I've asked you during this live stream. Please take the poll on my community page after this live stream. Who's to blame besides Kaitlin? Is also Mr. Strickland to blame for misleading and lying to both of these women? Because in the end, we really don't know what he was saying to both of them up until the murder of Mo. And that's what I like to hear. Play me the text messages, please. Put them on the big screen and let the reporters repeat it, because that's going to show you who was feeling what at the time of the murder. What was Miss Kaitlin feeling towards both of them, the world. We also get information that she took a trip to India to try to find herself, to leave something behind back in Texas. She went on a long-winded stay, on a retreat. See, she was suffering then, mentally. And 9 times out of 10, it was this relationship with Mr. Colin. She was knee-deep, sinking sand, falling into the abyss when all she had to do was leave him alone. And Lord knows I know the feeling. You get yourself wrapped up into a thing thinking that you can change them, or you're hoping they will change, that they one day will see something in you to where they will wake up and wise up, but rarely does that happen. And usually it takes years for people to wake up and realize they had a good person sitting right there in front of them, but so much has happened, so much damage has been done, it can never be right because it wasn't meant to be in the first place. Checkmate. See, that's what you have to tell yourself about these type of dirty tales, dirty dealings with people. It ain't meant to be. Because if it was meant to be, it would be. And if indeed you have to sell your soul to the devil to make it be, then you're not with the right person. That's my commentary. I want to thank you for joining me. Like, share, subscribe. Drop your comments below. Take the polls on my community page after this live stream. My advice to anybody out there pining over somebody that don't mean you any good, kick rocks and keep it moving. Know that there is somebody else out there that will value you and be honest with you and not deceptive and not abusive. Because abuse comes in all forms. And I believe this man deceived both women. And at some point, he may have told each how he genuinely felt. But in the end, he still didn't bow out, and neither did the females. And one lost her life to the other one. And now he's the last man standing. And as I said before during this live stream, I feel pity for anyone that meets him and tries to get in a relationship with him, because what will be a tragedy is that Mr. Colin Strickland has not changed. He is still a deceiver. So no matter the performance he put on in court, crying and moaning or moping or acting sad or acting like he didn't want to testify, didn't want to talk about it, the point is, if he hasn't learned anything from his behavior in dealing with these ladies, he will be back in this situation again. And perhaps the next time it will be him on a slab. Because I think that if you go through something like this, something tragic as this, you should wise up and treat people accordingly. Don't ask to get what you are not willing to give. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Thank you for your time. You have been listening to the Vault XL.